Today we got this Mercury 9.9 two-stroke. It's been sitting for a few years and it's been sitting in water as well. But today we're gonna dig into this and see if we can get it running again. Let's pop the top on this. So the backstory behind this essentially is this engine does run, sort of. I guess it runs pretty rough. It feels like it's coming down the one cylinder, so it keeps surging. I'm thinking, they said that they had the carburetor fully cleaned and reassembled. I'm gonna have the benefit of the doubt and say that this carburetor is okay. So that leaves us with either a compression or spark issue. You can see the coils on the top here. Everything in here looks like it's okay. Also, the impeller has never been changed, so we're going to dig into that, change the gear oil and the impeller, because without that, this thing is not going to cool properly. So the first thing we should probably look at is getting these spark plugs out, seeing if we have spark, and then test compression. Slide these boots off. Yeah, the spark plugs look okay. That one looks decent. One cylinder wasn't running right. The plugs could tell us if something was going on. And that one looks about the same. Guess we go and check spark on both cylinders. Turn this so maybe you guys can see it. Oh, we got spark on that one. And then, let's see if we got spark on this one. Do. All right, we got spark on that. Next thing we should check is compression. Let's get this about 5 pulls. All right, what are we at? There. Oh, let's do that again. 5 pulls, we are at about 115, which is good. All right, what do we got for compression? Roughly right about the same. We got about 115, 120-ish. So compression is not an issue. Apparently this issue gets worse with heat. So that's why I'm suspecting a grounding issue or an issue with one of these coils. So maybe we need to clean some of the grounds up. It's gonna be hard to diagnose this when I can't put it in the water and put load on it. The next thing we're gonna do is something I don't ordinarily do, but if you ever wanna see if you're sparking under compression, or at least you're getting signal under compression, I'll do this when it's running too, but what we can do is take a timing light and check each side to see how it's performing. When this is running, I'm also gonna do the same thing. Usually you're gonna run a timing light off of, for a vehicle, you're gonna run it off of the battery 12 volt system, but I'm gonna just hook it up to this external battery I got here. All right, so that one, I can see that flashing. I can see that one flashing as well. Everything seems to be functioning properly. Well, I'm gonna be replacing the impeller on this anyways, so I'm going to see if I can get this to start and see how it runs just starting off. Yeah, it's a dry start, but let's see what's happening. Turn it off because it is not cooling and I don't want it to seize. So that's the extent we're gonna run it right now. From that brief amount of running, when I had the timing light up here, it was sometimes dropping that spark. Wonder if we got an issue going on with this coil specifically. We can clean all the contact points and see what's going on there, and then we can run it again on some water. All right, one thing I want to do here is I want to take off this water pump and see if it is cooling correctly, or make sure this water passage is doing all right. All right, let's take a look at our thermostat. That doesn't look too bad in there. Blow through here, make sure we're coming out. Everything looks pretty good here. The only way to tell what it's doing is to actually run this. All right, I rigged this up to some water. Let's see if I can get this started now. See what happens. There we go. Got a little bit of a trickle. I'm not going to be able to throttle it because of how it's hooked up, but maybe we can find out some stuff. Coil. This bottom one's okay, it's working fine. Then it just stalled out. So I think we're having issues with this top coil here. So before we go buying a new coil, let's disassemble this, clean up the contacts and stuff like that. Intermittent spark. See, and that's why having a timing light is pretty important. Because otherwise I would have not been able to see that this top coil was having issues. Could hook it to a multimeter and start checking it that way. Alright, let's give this coil a little test here. Right now we're going to check the primary winding, so we're going to touch between these two terminals here. See what we get. 0.2, well, it went down to 0.1, but that should be within range. What we're looking for basically is, well, it went down to 0, but this primary winding should be between 0.2 and 0.4. It's at 0.2, now it went down to 0.1. So that seems okay, so now we're going to go to the negative and then inside for the secondary winding. And this should be between 8 and 10,000, which it is. So the secondary winding's fine. The primary winding is kind of suspicious. I'm going to check the other one and see what that's at. So the windings on the coil are about the same. Before we do, I want to clean all of these connections here. All right, we got all of the connections cleaned up. Making quite the mess over here. seem to have another issue. Turn this water off. So the problem is, now, it didn't seem to be having that spark issue, or is hesitating, but the primer bulb is completely flat and is not pumping back up. So I may have been wrong in my assessment. It might not have been a spark issue at all. I mean, we cleaned all the connections anyways, but it's good. So right here, we got the primer bulb and the gas. I have the fitting depressed. When I press on it, fuel comes out, good flow, but the primer bulb does not come back. So that means there's some sort of restriction in this fuel line, and we're gonna have to work backwards to figure out where it is. So without the connector, let's see it now. Nope, the bulb still stays flat. So it's not the end connector. You can hear that. You can literally hear the sucking noise. And in a two-stroke, starving for fuel is really not good because that means it's also starving for lubrication as well. All right, let's see now. It's a little bit better. You hear that? Sucking air. So, it should not be struggling that hard. This isn't even connected to anything. Well, I'm going to order a new one because this one, if you can see, it's pretty dry rotted. And we're just going to put a new one on here and see if that fixes it. All right, I got a new fuel tank line with a primer bulb. Let's connect this. Let's see how this primer bulb works. Oh yeah, pumps up, stays hard, returns instantly. Just the way it should be. On. Believe it is running better, but it's going to be hard to say until this is ran under load. So, and I don't really have anything I can bring this out on, but there's a few other maintenance items that we can finish doing here. I'm still waiting on the impeller, but we can drop the oil on this, and also all of these Zerk fittings right here, here, and there's some on the side, probably need some grease. A few squirts in this one. You see grease coming out. Grease in that one. There's grease coming out, which is good. There's one right here. Oh, I didn't even see the tag there. This is a 1996 9.9 M. Max RPM 6,000 RPM. All right, next we got to address this lower unit. So let's crack these and start draining this oil. See if we can get this bottom one first. There we go. Ooh, that is dark. This one should allow it to flow out a lot faster. There we go. Yeah, that stuff is real dark. And here there's this little hinge that's got to flip up, and then this pin has to come out. That's going to disconnect the linkage to the bottom. There we go. See? It's just this right there, and that's what keeps on the linkage. All right, I already disconnected the screws. There's one up here and then two back here. It should be... Oh, we got to get this off too. This little stopper. And that should get us low enough to where we can get inside here. Look at this. Oh, that looks pretty gross. Yeah, I think it's about due to clean this out. Now that we have full access to this, All right, with that blown off a little bit, we can get this main housing off. That doesn't look too bad in there. This impeller doesn't, oh, no, this impeller was going bad, never mind. You can see here, when I bend this back the other way, there's some tears in this. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. There's, oh, that one's really bad. See that split? Yeah. It's about time. Doesn't matter which way you put the fins in on this, it's going to correct itself as soon as it gets running. Alright, one critical thing when putting this back in is you want to make sure that this lines up with the connection that's in here. See it right there? That has to line up. That's got to go right in there. Otherwise, this will not get any water. So make sure that's lined up when we slide it back in. Alright, we got some Yamalube here. This should work just fine for this. We got this special attachment here where we just screw in the bottom and then we just pump until it starts bleeding out of here. See? There it goes there. Now what we're going to do is plug the top. There's two of these plugs. One with the magnet goes on the bottom. Alright, I just started this. Looks like the impeller is working really good. I think this motor is all set. Let's get this cover back on. Thank you for watching this episode of EngineCraft Garage. If you stuck around this far, I'm probably going to have some bonus footage at the end. I typically do in a lot of my videos. I have new videos that come out every week, so don't forget to subscribe, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.